Hello everybody, it's Sir Walter Jones and another one of my videos, informative. Today's subject is Robin Williams versus depression. Depression has won again. He is the last of the ones that are well known that we know of who have fallen into that thing called depression. He's not the only one. I have my list here of those who you recognize and some you may not recognize. Don Cornelius, the Soul Man. These are suicides. These are people who have unfortunately took their own lives. Ernest Hemingway, Freddie Prinze from Chico and the Man, Tony Scott, he's the director of Top Gun. Shakir Stewart, he's a Def Jam executive. Kurt Cobain of Nirvana. Marilyn Monroe, although that's suspicious whether it was suicide or not. Elliott Smith, he ironically did the soundtrack to Good Will Hunting. Dana Plato, Different Strokes. Hervé Villa, his last name is very difficult to pronounce, but he is the man that says, the tattoo from Fantasy Island. Edward Plott, is it Plott or Plate? Well, he's the chief on Get Smart. Our beloved Pastor Rick Warren's son committed suicide. And of course, this week, Robin Williams. These all similar situations here are due to depression. It's a subject that we need to talk about. Unfortunately, Robin Williams, his life, him taking his life today, caused the world to discuss this topic of depression. He's the poster child now, unfortunately. Great man. But look at the. There's another list here that I have here of those who overdosed on substance. Philip Seymour Hoffman, Anna Nicole Smith, Keith Ledger. Is it Keith or Heath? Amy Winehouse. They said I should have went to rehab, and I said no, no, no. And she didn't go, and well, you see what happened. Michael Jackson. We don't think about that, but yes. Judy Garland, River Phoenix, Chris Farley, John Belushi. Chris and John, it's almost like Chris follows John. Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, and the list goes on and on. These people here, possibly it was suicidal. We just don't know, because they're all overdose situations. Man, but that Robin Williams broke my heart. Oh my God! And all of the movies that he created, you can Google them all. And Popeye was probably my favorite. The Popeyes and the Bicentennial Man. And they were, those two were my favorites of his. But he's a funny man, comedian, and it is said that most comedians, because I'm a comedic in some sense, we hide or they hide behind this. They live this secret life of sickness and depression and all these other things, but when you see them on stage, they are full of life and they're making you laugh. And a lot of times these are tears of a clown, and this stuff happens. Let's analyze this thing of depression and also of suicide. Now, this is a Christian view here. So those of you who are watching YouTube and the comments will be below here, and you're gonna read some weird, whacked out, profane language type comments against us who are speaking the love of Christ, and that's okay. You just have to ignore those people because that's what they do. So don't be surprised when people act the way they do. So if you don't have the love of God in you, then just ignore this video. Go to the other one where the guy is cussing about everything else. But suicide. People that have asked me the questions over and over: is suicide a forgivable sin? Does a person go to hell or heaven after they commit suicide? Well, nobody has the answer to that question, because here's the thing: the book, I think, 2 John says there's a sin that is not unto death. He didn't say what that sin was. Number two, you're saying, well, if he commits suicide, he can't ask for forgiveness. Well, if all of us ask for forgiveness of every sin we committed, then a lot of us will be asking for forgiveness all day long and all year long. Okay, there's sins that we've committed we don't even think about. We don't really ask God for those specific sins, but God still forgives us. Okay, thou shalt not kill. That means not just another person, that also means yourself. Okay, so yes, it is a sin, but we can't put all suicide in the same bucket and say they're all going to hell, because we got to think about this. What's going on up here? If a man had no control over this, can we put him in hell? We have no keys to that place, by the way. So look at the people who were on the 911 in those towers, the twin towers, and there's fires behind them, and there was an escape window in front of them, and they jumped. Do they go to hell? What about the people who were born with mental illness, and they were 40 years old, but they had the mind of a 70-year-old, and they took their lives? What happens to them? So we can't just put people. If you had the answer to where people go when they die, then you're better than all of us. You really are. You have the mind of God, because I don't know where they go. Only God will know in Judgment Day. But let's analyze this whole thing of depression. We all know that depression comes in various forms. What we eat. Some people come up in their relationship with their mother and their father, their relationship with their siblings. Some people have been molested and raped and what have you. Something catastrophic had happened in their lives, which kicked off this imbalance in the brain, depression. Okay, and so we don't know what causes it, but it is around us all the time. I heard a stat that says that every 13 minutes somebody commits suicide, somewhere. So from the time that, well, it's been 6 minutes now since I've been talking, but in another few more minutes, somebody will have committed suicide. Let's look at some of the stats here. Let's go to there's a physiological thing going on here. The scientific research. All right, something that we don't really delve into, we as Christians, because we lay hands on people and say, okay, be released, be free, and we leave them to their own devices. And then Monday through Saturday, these people go home into their jobs and into the marketplace, and they're surrounded by things that depress them. And we think just pouring oil on their heads and going hita-tata shando on them and send them away, that's going to help them. Okay? Well, that praying for them is the start. But faith without works is dead. Some of these people need to get professional help. Okay? But we have to analyze and determine what that help is. And some people's help sometimes is sitting down and just talking with them. They need a friend, and they need somebody to talk to. And sometimes that will help people cope with depression, which is a treatable thing. That may help them more so than any medicine that you may take. The brain. The part of the brain that is responsible for memory and emotion is the hippocampus. And it is here where depression shows up. The hippocampus in people who suffer from depression is actually smaller than those who don't suffer from it. When you don't exercise your muscle, they shrink, as you know. This is the same thing that happens to the brain. People with depression have 25% less gray matter than those who don't have it. And this is that picture that we don't ever see until now. Thank God for technology and science today, where we'll be able to find out what is it. This hippocampus is absolutely important, and they analyze it to determine how a person with depression feels and what happens to the brain. In the United States, it's estimated that 10% of people with treatment-resistant depression take their own lives. But there's an experimental treatment available, even for the very severe cases. The vagal nerve stimulator is like a pacemaker. It's planted under the skin that sends signals to the brain. Isn't that something? How advanced technology is? And somebody sat there and analyzed that. They looked at the whole schematic of the body and determined how things operate. And God caused these things to strike inside of us, and to work and to pop and to give us nourishment and all the things that we can think of and can't think of. The people in scriptures, they didn't have what we have. They call the kidney the heart. The amygdala, just like what we saw in the hippocampus, the amygdala behaves differently in depressed people. Scientists took samples of the depressed people and showed them negative images as they were scanning their brains. And they come to realize something very shocking, Depressed people brains exaggerate negative images. They will take an image that I see and the image that you see, and a person with depression will take that image and a negative image, and it will shock them more than it would us. That's why some people can't look at some TV shows. They can't look at some things in real life because we may be more desensitized, and some things are more shocking to the depressed person. So you can't surround them with certain things. That's why in hospitals, in mental hospitals, there are people who you got to be sure to, even colors, the color scheme. You can't have wild pink and all these wild colors. You have to have, notice that the walls are white. And also music. You can't play rock and roll music with people who have mental illness because that sets them off. So a lot of times what you hear are classical music, soft tone, smooth jazz, things like that, for people who soothes a person. Now watch this. Here are some of the antidepressants that you hear about a lot who are given to you by these psychiatrists. Lexapro, Effexor, Zoloft, Zelexa, Prozac, Wellbutrin, Paxil, Ritalin, and Zyban. We see the commercials all the time. Okay, and when people take these medicines, a lot of time they go into this zombie mode. And I don't wish this stuff on anybody. And these medicines are usually given to those who are the more severe. Okay, these medicines are given to, and those are usually the last resort, because some people can't take just psychological counseling without taking this stuff here to calm them down. And so I'm not a proponent of this medicine, no. But it is for those who absolutely have to have it. Unfortunately, there's some people who have to have it, but then they get stuck on this stuff, and then they go into a different type of sickness, and they go into a depression. It's amazing. But there are people in the Bible who suffer from depression. You didn't know that, did you? Jeremiah slipped into depression. Go to Jeremiah chapter 15, 10 through 18. He felt fear, anger, unforgiveness. Job suffered from depression. Jonah slipped into depression. The writer of Psalms, many of the Psalms. Look at David's Psalm of Psalm 51 and other places where he slipped in depression. Samson suffered with addictions. The writer of Ecclesiastics had cynical tunnel vision. Elijah sunk into fear and depression as he ran from Jezebel. Come on now. King Saul suffered from manic depression. That's why David had to come and play the devil out of him. And I believe he had bipolar, and I believe he was also psychotic. King Nebuchadnezzar, he went mad. And Nero, we know what that brother did. He played, as the city burned. I think he was a psychopath. Okay, so mental illness is all throughout the Bible. Depression is throughout the Bible. It is nothing new under the sun. We suffer from it today, even more so. And all this stuff is because of man's sin. Adam, because of his sin, we have these sicknesses. But Scripture encourages us. It is by the stripes of Christ that we're healed. And some say, sometimes we have to read Scripture and interpret it properly, not so much in the physical, but in the spiritual as well. Spiritually, we are healed, and we can lean over into what Christ did for us and reach out and grab our healing. Okay, so this thing, what happened to our dear brother Robin Williams, we're sad about it. Okay, depression won this one, but we're talking about it right now, and he has become the sacrificial lamb on all of this. All right, it's sad. I pray for. We need to talk about this, and we need to go and find somebody who's depressed. Now, you pastors out there, many of you are not qualified to help people with depression. You're not. So pray with them, talk with them, give them calls, and go see them and visit them. That's the most you can do if you're not qualified. And then have in your Rolodex, if y'all still have those things, numbers and relationships with psychologists. Okay, and counselors and professionals who are bona fide, board certified, that you have this relationship with, so that you can refer your parishioners to them. Okay, someone you trust, preferably Christian counselors, but make sure that they're board certified. okay, some type of degree where they've suffered for 4, 5, 6 years in school to make sure that they can be qualified. All right, have this. Don't feel like you can cure everybody in your church. That's why we got more churches here in the United States than anywhere in the world, but yet we've got many of them who are Christians who are committing suicide. Okay, why is that? We have all this mental illness and bipolar, but yet we have these churches and these pastors who think they can solve the problems. No, you cannot, because you having the same problem that they have, and you're trying to blind leading the blind. Get you some counseling, get you some help. Go to school, go back to school. I'm not talking about just pastors, elders, ministers. You know, I'm doing the same thing. And then get you some training, and then you'll be able to talk to these people bona fide. All right? Okay. Didn't want this to be very long. We're almost 16 minutes here. So let me go. And somebody just committed suicide just a couple minutes ago. Okay? We have to pray, and then we have to go and talk to these people and take them out somewhere. Take them to the movies, take them skating, get them out of that environment and let them see that life is so much better on this side. Okay? And then those who are having these physiological issues in the brain and what have you, chemical imbalances, okay, and they don't know how to put the chicken and the pork down, then you'll have to unfortunately get them some counseling, professional counseling, and help them out. Okay? The saints are suffering. Okay, that's it. All right. Let's pray for the people. We love you. This is Sir Walter. Tune in again for my next rant.